Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Life Start Sit Hour. Happy week 8, everybody. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. No London football, so we actually have time this morning to set our fantasy lineups, and that's what we're here today to help you with. Go ahead, shoot us those start sit questions in the chat. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us, and we will again start at the very top and try to get to each and every one before the show is over. And by we, I mean myself and Chris Allen in the house. And Chris, happy Sunday, first of all, and also happy Sunday because we don't have to talk about any bad weather today.
Exactly. No weather, no London games. I really feel like the NFL is catering to you and I, really, when you think about it, because we don't have to worry about any of those extra things that are having us freak out at 9 o'clock in the morning once we get up. So no, either way, man, appreciate getting a chance to kick it with you on a Sunday morning, talk some ball, and help the people set their lineups before kickoff later today.
Amen to that, my friend. So again, no real weather concerns to be worrying about, which is a fantastic breath of fresh air. We do still have some outstanding injuries, though. We actually just had Tua pop up as questionable with an illness, although he is still expected to play. I'm sure not a ton of you are super relying on Tua, but hey, bye weeks and all the quarterback stuff, who knows? But we are tentatively expecting him to play. Otherwise, Drake London is shaping up to be a game time decision. Falcons are going to check on him as soon as they get to the stadium. We also have Matthew Golden obviously playing tonight, a bit questionable as well. Haven't gotten an official word on him. Dalton Kincaid, David Njoku, and Tyler Algier are the other players that, again, we are still awaiting news on. So otherwise, should pretty much have a clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose mindset. Chris, unless you are, again, dealing with this kind of quarterback situation, all sorts of backups in the fold. So just before we get into the questions, I wanted to get your opinion, Chris, on just 2 or 3 of your top streamers and how you're feeling about all these backups that are currently littering the position.
Yeah, so we've got actually quite a few of them coming in this week. Out of the group, I mean, we've got Kirk Cousins this week going up against the Dolphins. That's probably the easiest one, even with the fact that the Dolphins pretty much give up a lot of production on the ground. So if you got Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, you're probably licking your chops and hoping to see quite a few points in the box score after that particular game. But of course, with Drake London's potential injury, that kind of sets things back. But still, Kirk Cousins probably sets up as one of the better ones because I'm sure folks will have questions about Justin Fields' viability against my Bengals defense, but he's going to be without at least one pass catcher, 2 pass catchers if memory serves. So out of that group of Kirk Cousins, even Marcus Mariota going up against the Chiefs defense later on tomorrow rather. I think out of that group, I'd say Kirk Cousins is probably the best of those options. But of course, once we start digging into some of the specific roster situations that you might have, things might shift depending on where you're at in your matchup.
A little bit of a showcase opportunity for Kirk Cousins. Go make yourself some extra money in that 2027, or I guess it would be 2026, free agency cycle. Again, we'll see what happens with Drake London. Michael Penix is out. The way I have him ranked right now, which again, you guys can find over at fantasylife.com. I got Joe Flacco tops as my QB 13, probably not available. I get it. Followed by Aaron Rodgers, followed by another old and Kirk Cousins as my QB 15. I do have Justin Fields after that. As Chris mentioned, we got some injuries at wide receiver, so it's not ideal. But for me, it's like the problem was, and the reason why I would have had Fields closer like the QB 24 normally is Tyrod. But Tyrod's out. Okay, we actually don't have to worry about the fourth quarter benching in the same manner as we normally might. So I am trusting Fields a little bit more to that extent. And I will say, just looking at our other rankers, Dwayne has Fields QB 15, Freeman's got him QB 14, Kendall's even already got him all the way up at QB 13. So again, Flacco, Rodgers, Cousins, Fields. After that, I think Chris is spot on with Marcus Mariota being there. Mac Jones, Spencer Rattler, CJ Stroud, and then we get into Tua and Snoop Huntley and all those guys. So I guess the last point, Chris, despite all those secondary injuries with the Bears, not exactly trusting Snoop Huntley, even though he was a Pro Bowler once in a day, Chris. People forget.
People do forget. And that's right. The only player that I would really trust out of the Ravens pass catching group would be Zay Flowers. Wound up with 10 targets in that the last game before they went into their bye. So from a volume standpoint, I can see folks turning to the Ravens wide receiver 1. And maybe if you lean into it, I don't know, Ian, if you're observing this holiday or not, but you do know today is National Tight Ends Day. So if you want to try and bank on either of Mark Andrews or Isaiah Likely falling into the end zone, because today is that day for stuff like that to happen, I'd say those 2 tight ends might have a shot at getting into your starting lineups. But really out of that group, it's just Zay Flowers.
I may or may not have a 10-leg anytime touchdown parlay. $1 to win 19 grand, baby. Come on, tight ends. Let's get some touchdowns going in there. So
scared money don't make money, baby.
Hey, amen to that. Shout out to the great Cooter Doodle. With that, let's get into it, guys. Again, continue to shoot your questions into the chat, and let's have ourselves a day. From the Ocho, am I overthinking starting Dart over Jalen Hurts with A.J. Brown out? Probably. And again, it just literally comes down to the tush push. Nobody else has these sorts of opportunities. And to Hurts' credit, I thought last week, one of the best passing performances we've ever seen the man put on. So, yeah, it'd be a lot cooler if AJB was out there. It's still a gap, though, for me, Chris. How about you?
Yeah, and I know that this is going to be the divisional rematch between the Eagles and the Giants. So things in those types of environments can get a little bit wonky. But at least for the Giants, Paulson and Debo, their starting corner, is supposed to be out. Javon Holland, one of their safeties, is also supposed to be out. So even with A.J. Brown going to be unavailable for this game, still got Devonta Smith, still got Dallas Goedert. And even if you believe that Saquon Barkley can get stuff done as a receiver, Hurts does have enough options out of the backfield or down the field that he should be able to get there as a quarterback. So I would still say Hurts in this matchup for sure.
Half PPR, are we looking at Tedero McMillan, J.K. Dobbins, or Rico Dowdle? I have T-Mac and Dobbins almost right next to each other. Half PPR, though, it's just such a good spot for Dobbins, Chris. It's such a good spot.
And having to play with backup like Andy Dalton, even though I guess there are some arguments that could be made that Dalton is something of an upgrade over Bryce Young, but he hasn't played. McMillan hasn't played with Bryce, Andy Dalton yet. So I would say in this matchup going up against the Dallas defense that we know can get beat on the air and also on the ground, I would say it's probably going to be Dobbins for me.
I am with you. And as always, we got our start sit tool presented by Xfinity, helping do some dirty work as well. And reminder, whenever it agrees with us, we appreciate it. And in this case, it is. So J.K. Dobbins doing his thing. Yeah, no Bryce Young. Soft benching, people are asking. By the way, I'm 100% kidding, guys. I just enjoy calling every single injury these days soft benching. It really gets the people going. From Tony, which QB should I start? May, Fields, or Cousins? We're going Drake May, bro. He's gotten you this far. Come on, support the guy.
Yeah, I mean, tough matchup against the Cleveland rush or pass defense, or their pass rush rather. I know the especially after the trade between who was it, the Browns and Jacksonville, if I'm remembering right. They have had some problems on the back end of their defense, but still, I mean, Stephon Diggs is still rocking. Kayshon Boutte is still a decent option. And of course, back to the National Tight Ends Day. If there's ever a day for Hunter Henry to really show up in the box score, it would be today. And he's been a solid option for Drake May so far. So no, I'd say Drake May is the best option out of that group.
Is consensus from all of our lovely alleged rankers. Tony from Greggy, what up, fam? Happy Halloween weekend for sure. 5-year-old already threw up from eating too much candy, as he should. Good for them. Right. 12-team non-PPR projected to win by 20%. That's how you ask a start sit question, everyone. Appreciate you, Greggy. Slayton, Downs, Brashard Smith, Kyle Monangai. We need 2, Chris. Slayton is back in action, which is good to see. Non-PPR. I almost lean Downs and Monangai. How about you? And producer Matt, I'd love to see this one on the start set tool as well.
Yeah, that would have been my 2 picks as well, because as we were talking before the show, if there was even a chance that Kareem Hunt was going to be missing this game, I would say Brashard Smith, fire him up and give him a shot after seeing how often he was used in the passing game just this past week when they played the Raiders. So without knowing what Hunt's workload is going to be, even though he's still dealing with, he got in the full practice on Friday, still dealing with a knee bone bruise or something along those lines. Not knowing how much he's going to get used, I would say Downs and Monangai out of that group.
Again, Swift is going to be out there and playing, but could perhaps be a little bit banged up, as we saw last week. That did lead to it, season high roll, I should say, for Kyle Monangai. So it is going to be Kyle Monangai and Josh Downs per the tool. So yeah, again, if it was full PPR, I could see being more behind Brashard Smith. I know people are going to have to be, starting him this week. On better options, I get it. But again, especially in non-PPR, just go ahead and give us Monangai and Downs. From Sky PPR, Bill Krosky-Merritt, Ramondre Stevenson, Tez Johnson, or Keon Coleman. I think I lean Ramondre. It's going to be close between him and Bill. Actually, yeah. I have Ramondre just ahead, Chris. I hate the matchup as well, but the dude could get 20 touches out there. Also, goal line touches, just fall into the end zone a couple of times. I think that's in his, in his potential range of outcomes.
In his potential range of outcomes, at least I'd advocate for Tez Johnson just because we know that that's going to be his path to touches is almost, I'd say, as good as any compared to Ramondre Stevenson. Also should be one of the more up-tempo matchups between the Bucs and the Saints, whereas I can see it being something of a I would say, low paced or slower pace game between the Browns and the Patriots. So just from the game environment standpoint and where Tez Johnson is getting targets down the field that can lead to touchdowns, I would say if you're behind in your matchup, or even like to be slightly behind your matchup, let's say I'd advocate for Tez Johnson. But otherwise, if it's still 0-0, Ramondre Stevenson.
Also, Caleb Williams or Daniel Jones. I'm the only ranker that has Caleb ahead of Jones. So I think I will put my ego aside, Chris, and go ahead and just recommend Daniel Jones on behalf of the rest of the Fantasy Life rankers. It has been a slow start for Caleb coming out of the bye. I get just taking the safer play, Daniel Jones, playing great football in this matchup against the Titans. That's fine. I still do think Caleb probably just has the higher ceiling because just the way Jones is playing more in Indy, we know he's mobile, but Caleb, I think, could actually give us, more so the 55, 60-yard rushing games on top of, a potential, I would say a better chance of a shootout, but there's no Lamar. So it's probably Daniel Jones. What do you say, Chris?
Yeah, I would say Daniel Jones just from he has the higher team total compared to where the Bears are at as of right now. And then even though there is some, I would say the systemic risk for the Colts is that Jonathan Taylor has another 3 touchdown game against the Titans. Yeah. That's really the concern, is that his team does so well that he's not really a part of their scoring opportunities. That's really the only big thing for Daniel Jones.
Yeah, so go ahead and give us them. Again, I had, them right next to each other anyway, so God, trying to update my rankings mid-show, and we messed something up. So we will get that fixed. But anyway, Chris, we are back at it. Big Mac, hey guys, really conflicted. Got a flex one in PPR. Downs, Pierce, Mooney. Appreciate you. I'm feeling Darnell Mooney, man, especially, no doubt about it, if London is out here. Bro, even if he is playing, I just think that Cousins-Mooney connection was so much better than what we really saw from Penix. Mooney had more receiving yards in London through 14 weeks of last season. I know Alec Pierce is set up well as well. Titans defense, we've talked about this as well as one of my bull call booms, but I really am feeling a big Mooney week. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, same. And I would say that for the folks that are potentially chasing a repeat performance with Alec Pierce, think about the game environment from week 7 versus what's going to happen in week 8 for the Colts. In week 7, they were pushed by Justin Herbert and the Chargers to continue at least putting up enough points to stay well ahead of him. Whereas in this game, can we really see the Titans putting up any sort of fight against the Colts? And even though this is going to be another divisional rematch, if memory serves. So things could get kind of crazy in that one too, but I find it hard to believe that Daniel Jones is really going to be pressing the ball downfield to Alec Pierce, even though he wound up with 10 targets last week, and that's one of my guys, comes from the University of Cincinnati, so go Bearcats. But still, compared to his game environment to what you would expect to see from somebody like Mooney, where we already know he has a connection with Kirk Cousins, this should be a game where they should at least be able to get a couple of deep shots down the field, and if it's going to anybody outside of maybe even seeing Kyle Pitts get involved, it's going to be to Darnell for sure.
Darnell Mooney, again, no injury designation going this week. We saw him play his usual role last week. And just again, for my money's worth, haven't watched the guy all year. I know we haven't had the production to back it up yet, but looks like his usual silky smooth route running self. So I do think against that just terrible Dolphins secondary, we will see a nice game from Mooney. Sterling Shepard, Troy Franklin, or Travion Henderson. Wow, brave enough to still put Travion in a start sit. Question, bold move from Mr. Sky. I'm leaning, I think Troy Franklin. It's going to be close between him and Shepard, though. But Troy Franklin does get the Cowboys. Accordingly, I do have Franklin ahead. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, that'd be the only one. Even though I would say his role in the team is somewhat nebulous because we don't know who really the wide receiver 2 is alongside Cortland Sutton. Yeah. Some weeks it's Evan Ingram. Sometimes it's Marvin Mims. Sometimes it's Troy Franklin. Out of that receiving group outside of Cortland Sutton, Troy Franklin is running the most routes, around 74-75% of the routes so far, like through 6-7 games with Bo Nix. He does at least have enough targets that if he does get some of those deep shots against the Cowboys, no Trayvon Diggs. I mean, so that should be enough opportunity there in what we think should be a back and forth matchup between the Broncos and the Cowboys. So I'd say Troy Franklin is probably the best suited out of that group.
We are also leaning Cousins a little bit over Mariota. You cool with that one, Chris, for Scott's last one?
Yeah, for sure.
From Sterling, full PPR, start one in the flex spot. Rashid Shaheed, Troy Franklin, or Darnell Mooney. Again, I bumped Mooney up. For me, it's between him and Shaheed. It's very close. Honestly, I do my silly little helicopter tweet. I was between Mooney, Shaheed, and DJ Moore. So I see all the avenues for Shaheed. I guess for me, that Buccaneers defense really did a great job against the Lions last week. And as much as they are a pass funnel, I think more and more they're trending towards just being a really good defense overall. So I'm just a little bit more confident about the Dolphins sucking. And I think that, the passing games, it's not like we can feel that much better about the Saints than we can with the Falcons or anything like that. And again, I honestly think that Kirk Cousins probably could stabilize things. So enough going for Mooney's way to go ahead and lean to him. But Chris, again, I think it's easy slam dunk Mooney if we do in fact see Drake London out.
And I would say the tiebreaker for in Mooney's favor is that, like we were just outlining for the Broncos and Troy Franklin, it's there are other options that Bo Nix can pass to. And with Rashid Shaheed, the other thing that we have to at least be somewhat cognizant of, Eric McCoy, the starting center for the Saints, is also supposed to be out. Todd Bowles, he calls a mean defense, and how little respect he has for younger pass catchers. We've seen it before where he tries to send the house against Jaden Daniels in his first start. This was in 2024. Then also any of the rookies that he's faced historically in the past tries to send as much disguised or exotic coverages so that in order to confuse them. And we already saw Spencer Rattler get lit up last week by the Bears defense. So I can see a similar situation for that in week 8. So I'm with you. I think Mooney is probably the best out of that option, but you can make the case for some of them just given how they get used down the field. They can create some explosives.
From Colin, Woody Marks, or Bill. I had Bill crossing Merritt a few spots ahead. Again, Woody, could he be leaned on a little bit more without the wide receivers and stuff? Also, got a good enough matchup, I should say, against a banged up 49ers defense. I guess I just have no freaking faith in that Houston offense at all, man. The offensive line's been almost worse than expected. Again, going into Arrowhead, not exactly a pristine spot, for Bill. I know he's let down, all of us basically in 2 back-to-back. Good spots that we expected more out of, but I still think it's enough, Chris. And a low-end RB2 conversation. Give me Bill.
Yeah, and we're still seeing Nick Chubb getting rotated in and being used in enough situations that he's still going to be a thorn in Woody Marks' side. So if most of the touches are being condensed around Bill, I'll at least go the volume route versus whatever poor situation that either of them are going to be in, with the Commanders having to face the Chiefs in Arrowhead or having to see the Texans play like whatever style of football they're trying to do in order to keep CJ Stroud upright.
From Fly Paste, half PPR, Spears or Monungai. I'm feeling good about Monungai. Chris, is that fair?
Yeah, and I know that the Ravens defense, they're getting a couple defenders back after their bye, so they are a little bit healthier. But with the projected, I would say, step back without having Lamar Jackson there, could you see a scenario where just the entire team starts to collapse in the back end or like in the second half, something along those lines? I could see that. So I think Monungai is the better of the two.
Wonky reporting all week long with Lamar Jackson, and hopefully we'll see him back on Thursday night here soon enough. Also, Keon Coleman or Jalen Noel in the flex. I'm biased. I lean Keon here. I will say, though, Chris, as much as there are injuries in Houston, there's injuries in Buffalo as well. Josh Palmer is going to be out of the situation. That should open things up a little bit more for Keon. Not particularly afraid of this Panthers matchup, with all due respect to J.C. Horn. But Jalen Noel made the most of his opportunity as well. I guess what I'm worried about is that we see the Texans continue to be wonky with their wide receivers, bro. And we just have Xavier Hutchinson or even Justin Watson out there instead of Jalen Noel, as much as it would make more sense to have, obviously, their day 2 rookie on the field. So I lean Keon, but it certainly is close.
And Dalton Kincaid also still questionable with the oblique injury that he had before their bye. So I'd say I'm with you. There are enough outs in Keon Coleman's favor that he could wind up being the guy that gets enough targets that he gets there from a wide receiver standpoint. So I understand that.
Or T. Higgins. Why is it between Sutton and T. Higgins?
That's tough.
And that's a great problem to have. I do lean Cortland Sutton just for the Cowboys game, though. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, and I would say if you had asked me the same question maybe a week or so ago, I would have leaned towards T. Higgins, because for the Jets specifically, they've had a number of wide receiver 2s go up against him. Whoever Sauce Gardner is not guarding has been the one to really produce, but Gardner's going to be out this week, so it just could be Jamar getting 23 targets and wind up finding himself in the end zone. So I get that. Cortland Sutton for this one.
Again, I think we literally have both those guys as consensus top 12 wide receivers. So I would very much urge you to look at, the entire lineup twice, see if you can't fit them all in. But yeah, go ahead and give us Sutton for now. Nate Easy, May or Nix. It is a great matchup for Bo Nix. I'm still leaning towards Drake May, though, Chris. Again, we've seen Nix just have some awesome moments to come back against the Eagles. Obviously, the comeback last week and, scoring the second most fantasy points of the entire season, even the Bengals game. So I can certainly see him balling out against the Cowboys. But just Drake May has been a legit top 5 real life and fantasy quarterback this year. For me, that is a stud, and I'm starting my stud.
Well, and May has been able to do it through 4 quarters. Now, if Nix can do what he did in the 4th quarter last week through all of them, then sure, I'd be more than happy to advocate for Nix over Drake May. But I haven't seen it yet, so I have to go Drake May.
That is near consensus. Matthew Friedman does have, Bo Nix one spot ahead of Drake May. So again, I don't think you're ridiculous for trying to do so. I personally in our consensus though, Drake May is QB6, Bo Nix is QB7. So good question. Playoff Rondo. Wow, yeah, playoff Rondo was freaking sick back in the day. Man, when he would, his hands were so freaking big.
The headband, man. I love the headband.
I know. Here it is. Huntley or Cousins in DFS. So I haven't been as deep into DFS streets. So if you got a better lean on it, Chris, I would say, I guess more ownership with Cousins, but I'm not really sure. How you feeling?
Well, you're kind of flipping the build, I would assume, because you are I would assume you're avoiding Bijan in that, unless you're playing a quarterback running back stack, because everybody's going to be on Bijan Robinson in this game going up against Miami.
Yeah.
So if you're going to say that, let's say you do the Cousins Mooney stack, that would be, I mean, less rostered. And then at least if that hits, you are then allowed to get access to some of the other high price running backs that are going to be on this slate. So it would be like Christian McCaffrey, Devon Achane, and of course, Jonathan Taylor, who sits up, say, around like 9,500 on DraftKings. So I can understand going that route, because if you want to still be able to beat up on Miami's defense while not using the player that everybody else is in Bijan Robinson, going like a Cousins Mooney stack would make some sense.
Actually like that call quite a bit. And again, we also just have Cousins projected for more raw points than Huntley in the first place. So good shout there, Mr. Chris. From Tom, hey guys, Matthew Golden or Krosky Merritt in full PPR. So again, we still got to find out on Golden. I think I probably pick Krosky Merritt just regardless of the situation. Christian Watson coming back. No Dontavian Wicks, so maybe it evens out, but it is a good matchup against Pittsburgh. Again, Krosky plays on Monday night. Obviously, Golden plays Sunday night, so don't have to worry about that, aspect of it, Chris. I lean Bill. I do think, though, if you get to Sunday night and you're down, maybe you shoot for more of the upside with Golden. What are your thoughts here?
Well, yeah, because that's where you get the option of being able to wait out most this afternoon and seeing where your matchup is at, since both of those are going to be the primetime games. So if you're all falling behind, going with Matthew Golden, because I mean, I get it. Christian Watson's coming back, but how much are we really thinking he's going to be able to play tonight? Yeah. I just don't see it, man. And whereas with Matthew Golden, we've seen his routes start to come up over the last like 2-3 games. Targets have really been around like 15, 16, 17%, but he's used in the parts of the field where you could see him having that same type of usage, that, not comparing the two wide receiver style from an archetype standpoint, but how Jamar Chase was getting open like last week against the Steelers, or even down the field like T. Higgins was. Golden can run some of those same routes and beat the same coverages, because, I mean, if you just need athleticism to get by Jalen Ramsey and the rest of those guys, Golden can really do those types of things too. So I could see him getting a couple of shots downfield and having the type of performance that you need to get by in this matchup. So maybe after this afternoon games, take stock of where you're at in your matchup and then try and see if you need that punch, go with Matthew Golden.
I think that's a great way of putting it. I am in full agreement. From Greggy again, Chris, what's your favorite Halloween smoothie?
Ooh, come back. I'll let me do some looking real quick, and then I'll get back to me on that one.
There we go. From Sky PPR, Leggett Spears. He has Pollard, Theo Johnson, or Kenneth Gainwell. I think in that situation, considering you have Pollard, it's probably Xavier Leggett or Theo. I just don't have faith in Gainwell's week-to-week role. Obviously, we know what he can do if Warren's out of the picture, but we've seen Warren legit take over this backfield during certain weeks. So this National Tight End Day, Chris, on my initial ranks, I had Leggett about 5 or 6 spots ahead of Theo.
No, I think that makes sense. And for, what was it, that bonehead play that Xavier Leggett had a couple of weeks ago where he tried to lateral it back or something along those lines, causing a fumble? At least he's been able to learn from it and play a little bit better since then. And hopefully he has a little bit more rapport with Andy Dalton. I'd say he would be the one to potentially benefit from Dalton being under center versus Tedero McMillan. Yeah. So I would say going the route of having Leggett in your lineup, I would do that.
Nate Deasy, Falcons or Broncos DST, which one to drop in order to get Bill? Definitely drop. I would say, man, Falcons. Broncos better in real life. And just here's the Broncos schedule: Cowboys, Texans, Raiders, like over these next 3 weeks. They didn't get the Chiefs in a bye, but you can worry about that later. So we have 3 more good weeks for the Broncos. Meanwhile, for the Falcons, yeah, maybe you could argue the Dolphins. I guess you probably could. Yeah, Dolphins are a better matchup for this week. But after that, man, Patriots and Colts back to back. Like I 100% prefer the Broncos in that case. So give me the Broncos, keeping them on your roster. Go ahead and drop those Falcons. From Jeremy, he's freaking out at 9 a.m. That's all right. We're here for you, Jeremy. One flex to fill. Full PPR, pick 1. Bill Krosky Merritt, Isaiah Pacheco, DJ Moore, Tyler Algier, or Alec Pierce off the waiver wire. I'm leaning Pacheco, Chris. We actually have seen his numbers be moving up recently. Big home favorite on Monday Night Football. We'll see how involved Kareem Hunt is, but it could make sense if Pacheco gets a little bit more usage there. I do think it's Pacheco here.
Yeah, I agree with that one because compared to, we were talking earlier about Brashard Smith, and if it was going to be Kareem Hunt out, I could see more work for Brashard Smith. But still in this matchup, even if Kareem Hunt is slightly limited, if let's say the short yardage touches were to shift from Hunt to another running back, I would have to assume that it's going to be Isaiah Pacheco getting involved. And also we've seen his targets be somewhat middling, but I would say a couple more going his way over the past 2 to 3 weeks. So if there's a chance for even a little bit more work with Hunt potentially taking a step back, because I would assume this is going to be a game that they're not going to get pushed to really continue to have any sort of offensive firepower once you get into the second half. So Pacheco's still out there running around versus Kareem Hunt taking a seat on the bench afterwards to rest his bone bruise. I would say Pacheco out of that group for sure.
15 and 17 combined carries and targets for Pacheco over these past 2 weeks. So roll is starting to ramp up here just a little bit. I know it's been disappointing. Better days could be here to come. Xfinity Star Sit Tool did say DJ Moore. Again, I hate that thing anytime it disagrees with us, but that is more of a projection based, start sit. So for what it's worth, DJ Moore certainly in a good enough spot as well. Good luck, Mr. Jeremy. From Big Mac, Bill or Dobbs in full PPR? Oh man, I want to say Dobbs here, Chris.
That's the one I was leaning towards. But let's say you're behind in your matchup. We'll do the matchup thing again. Like we try and use the tiebreaker. Falling behind, I would say Dobbs for sure. If everything's 0-0, you think you're projected to win, just looking at your opponent's roster, I'd say go Bill.
Again, guys, you can find all of our updated rankings over at fantasylife.com. When I get to one of these and I say, you know what, I actually think I would prefer that guy, I change my rankings. This happens all throughout the entire week. I'm sure our other rankers have a similar process. From Craig, full PPR, Waddle, Marks, or Kenny Walker. Well, I would really prefer not to go with Kenneth Walker. I can almost guarantee you he'll get a 0 while he is on his bye week. So I would say, Chris, Jalen Waddle here again. He's dealing with, was it hamstrings on the injury report? Like, I don't love that, but he is going to be out there.
Yeah, that's the part that kind of concerned me. So I would say out of that, let's go. I'll go Waddle. I'll give him one more week.
Again, he's good. It was hamstring / rest, and then he practiced in full on Friday and didn't have a designation. So just kind of a weird situation. But I think Waddle's so good, guys. I'm not afraid of, AJ Terrell or potential bad on-paper matchup for someone like Jalen Waddle. From a big fan of, half-point PPR, pick 2, Jaden Higgins, Matthew Golden, and Colston Loveland. See, this is where it gets a little more interesting. We don't know what's going on with Matthew Golden. I prefer to pick him, but if we don't have anyone else to fall back on, I think at that point, you just got to go Higgins and Loveland, Chris.
Yeah, I think those are the two because Cole Kmet, he's dealing with, I forget, was it also a hip injury or something along those lines?
He's out for sure.
Yeah, he's out. Good. So I'd say that's where the path to at least a few more targets is in his favor. So out of that group, Golden, I'd say Golden and Loveland for me, but Higgins, it's close.
Keep an eye on Golden, guys. I would like to think maybe we can get, a Jay Glazer update here soon, and you can kind of figure that out. But again, it's just going to be a tough situation where I don't want you sitting there at 8 o'clock with absolutely no one else to replace Golden with. At tight end, Chris, full PPR, Mark Andrews or Evan Ingram. I would have preferred Andrews, I think, if we had Lamar Jackson under center, but we don't. So go ahead and give me Evan Ingram, who low-key isn't playing like a full-time role yet, but I think he's like second at the position in targets since he actually came back from injury. He's got the great matchup as well.
Yeah, it's been him battling with Troy Franklin for that wide receiver 2 or pass catcher 2 spot over the past 2 or 3 weeks. So if anybody's going to benefit from matching up against the Cowboys defense, it'll be one of those 2 guys. So I'll take Ingram over Andrews.
It is close, tight end 16, tight end 17 in our ranks. I got Ingram all the way up there at tight end 10, though. I am higher on him than any other ranker. And you know what? I feel okay about it. From Jeep Guy, good morning. Good morning, man. Matthew Golden or Luther Burden. Golden's got that hip issue. Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
So who could we real? Because I don't love Burden. I definitely want to start Golden, but I don't want to leave him completely hanging. Calvin Austin's back for the Steelers. Honestly, I think you can argue he's probably in a better spot than Luther Burden as it is. So if you're able to have the roster spot to go between Golden and Austin, I would prefer that. There's not great auxiliary options in the Commanders and Chiefs. It's going to be like Malik Heath or something like.
Troy
Yeah.
Franklin is another solid one if you want to try and find somebody off the waiver wire, because we're talking about guys that are rostered in less than 50% of leagues. Franklin falls into that bucket. Who else could I think of that would potentially fall into that? There's at least one other guy that I'm trying to remember. Jalen Noel, this is we were talking about it earlier, even though there is some level of how much they're going to try and target some of their rookie wide receivers. I would at least toss him into that bucket too.
I'm just worried about the timing of it, Chris, because we got Golden 8:20 tonight. So if it's a game time decision, I'm trying to balance that out. So that's my
Fair.
bigger
Yeah.
concern going with it. So again, if you can go out there and get Calvin Austin, I want to try ride with Golden. I don't think we should be assuming he's going to be out. So hopefully we get, a little bit of wisdom with that. Producer Matt says dumpster diving with the Titans receivers. I am good on that, man. But smarter man than me. From Jim Bob, let's see. Pick 2 for flex, half PPR. Juwan Jennings, Tez Johnson, Alec Pierce, Kyle Monungai, and Brashard Smith. I'm leaning towards probably Tez and Alec Pierce. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, those are the two that stuck out to me. Juwan Jennings having to go up against the Texans defense that really, I don't think they've allowed maybe one passing touchdown so far this year. And it came last week against the Seahawks when JSN got over to him. I don't think, and JSN is actually the only 100-yard receiving game that they've allowed throughout 7 weeks, 8 weeks. So no Juwan Jennings for me. Tez Johnson for sure, and Monungai. And back to the Pierce thing, just don't know if it's going to be the same offensive game and type of game environment that would allow, or at least that would force the Colts to continue passing to give Pierce that 10 target, or at least high volume game that we saw in week 7. So he'd probably be lower on my list. So yeah, give me Tez Johnson and Kyle Monungai.
I like Alec Pierce. Right? I was screaming all offseason how wild it was. He actually led this Colts team in receiving yards, but it does feel a little bit like Nick Westbrook-Ikini last year, Chris, during that bye where no one really dreamed of playing him during more weeks than not. And then he had a good game before the bye, and everyone's so desperate that we all kind of collectively talked ourselves into Alec Pierce and Nick Westbrook-Ikini without fully realizing it. So again, have him as a low-end wide receiver 3, but that's just my, non-analytical kind of read on the situation. Because as we know, fantasy football loves to hurt us. From HX Den, half PPR, Judkins or Dowdle. Definitely Judkins, man. Just a situation where 20 plus touch upside a week for him with Carolina. Who the heck knows how they're going to be rotating these running backs. Wesley, no question. Just want to say it's a great day to be great. Let's go, Wesley. You're goddamn right it is, man. Let's have ourselves a day. Mike Thomas, if London does not play best of these 3 in full PPR, Franklin, Downs, or Mooney, I think that's, again, Mooney very clearly without London. And honestly, I pick Mooney either way. From Blake, pick 2, Kamara, Judkins, Chase Brown. This one's a little bit closer. As much as Chase Brown finally did show some signs of life, and it is a good spot. Judkins for sure. Where do you fall between Chase Brown and Kamara, Chris?
I would lean towards Chase Brown. Running into the teeth of the Bucs defense, they do have one of the tougher outs, like from a rushing defensive standpoint. And the other thing for Kamara is that we still haven't seen that same level of usage in the receiving game as we had in years past. So I get it. No Kendre Miller. I guess Devin Neal is supposed to step into that Miller role, but still, I do have some just general concerns about the Bucs defense, either pushing the offensive line back and getting in Spencer Rattler's face enough that he's going to have tough sleddings from a rushing standpoint. So I think Chase Brown over Alvin Kamara just for this week.
I do have Chase Brown one spot ahead as well. Our Xfinity Star sit tool is leaning towards Judkins and Kamara. So again, Judkins consensus, yes, we are rolling with him. Again, he's a top 12 running back for us. Chase Brown's RB17, Alvin Kamara's RB18. So that would be the one where if you want to flip it, would not call you crazy. From Perez, full PPR, Otten or Mooney. We're going feeling Darnell Mooney in full PPR. I know Otten's been, doing his thing, but just really like the spot for Mooney. Monungai, Brashard Smith, Mark Andrews, or Mason Taylor. That's a question. Probably Kyle Monungai, Chris.
Monungai, yes, but I guess guess in full PPR, just because Mason Taylor is probably the only receiving game in town for Justin
Yeah.
Fields today. And of course, seeing how many tight ends have been able to beat out the Bengals linebacker core. What was it? All three tight ends for the Steelers just scored against them last week. So I can understand the process for getting to Mason Taylor. So it's between either one of those two for me.
Henry versus Kate Otten. We do have Otten ranked a little bit ahead. It's tough, but yeah, go ahead and give me Kate Otten.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, 26% and 19% of the targets over the past couple of weeks. And so with no Mike Evans, of course, Chris Godwin still dealing with his thing. And I don't know what's going on with the Emeka Egbuka. It was good to see him back from the hamstring injury, but let's say he's going through some stuff at best. I would say putting in or trying to slot in K. Dotton does make some sense, but still, Hunter Henry, I can understand that.
From Moban PPR, start one, Juwan Jennings, Keon Coleman, or Troy Franklin. This is, again, all in that same what the heck flex tier. I do have, where's Juwan for me?
So my guess
I have Keon just ahead of both.
Okay. All right. I would have guessed that. Well, I would assume the start sit tool would probably have Juwan Jennings as the guy that you should put in. But if we're trying to go matchup adjusted or just for matchup rather, I would go Keon, Troy Franklin, and then Juwan Jennings.
From Danzia, suffering from injuries, buys, and game script. Yeah, join the club, man. RB2, Bill Krosky, Merritt, Tony Pollard, or Kyle Monungai. I'm feeling Bill for that. And then for the flex, Fannin, Kittle, Jennings, or Pierce. Yeah, I mean, it's Kittle for sure. Yeah. Why is Kittle not your tight end? I mean, good job by you, I guess. But yeah, Kittle and Bill, Chris.
Yeah, wonder who their actual tight end is. Maybe it's Dallas Goedert or somebody like that. But
Could
yeah, Kittle.
From Mr. Greg, Worthy or Wandale in full PPR? I'm going Wandale Robinson, man. I think I'm actually higher on him for like the second or third straight week than the rest of the rankers. But I just believe enough in Dart. We've seen Wandale expand his game a little bit this year as well. Yeah, I have Wandale as my wide receiver 17, Worthy as my wide receiver 23. So they are right next to each other in the consensus rank. So again, not all the rankers feel the same way, but I'm Team Wandale here pretty strongly, Chris. How about you?
Doing the same BS PPR scam that he had been in years past of just running those 2 to 3 yard routes and then catching the ball and going after it. I don't know. I mean, Ian, you should go back through your tweets and see how many of those PPR, like just two guys scoring like, 10 PPR points. That's probably like a number of them in Wandale, but he has been used farther down the field in 2025 without Malik Neighbors on the field. So I can get it in this game. Yeah, go Wandale.
March Nance, Goddard or Kraft? I think it's got to be Goddard here, just again, given the no AJ Brown. I do have Goddard one spot ahead of Tucker Kraft. I'm kind of alone in that, though. The rest of the rankers prefer Tucker Kraft. I don't know, man. I saw a good tweet from Hayden Wakes, and it makes sense just the way we think about it. Like when you look at running back and tight end targets, they get the vast majority of their targets against zone-heavy defenses because, again, that's when cornerbacks and safeties are sitting back more. They got their eyes on the quarterback and everything, and they just don't allow the same sort of big plays to wide receivers. I think that's man coverage when we actually see the wide receivers get fed more, and that's what Pittsburgh does more than almost anyone. So not saying Tucker Kraft couldn't make the most out of his opportunities, but again, with Dallas Goedert just being the number 2 in a good matchup, man, we've already seen his touchdown ability this year. Give me Goddard here.
Yeah, and that makes it even more hilarious that Jamar Chase got 23 targets against them, and he was wide open on at least 6 or 7 of them. So that's even more hilarious that's how bad the Steelers are. So I'm with you for Dallas Goedert on the for sure.
From Chief Matt, good morning, man. Half PPR, roll with Judy or pick up A.O. Manor, Higgins, or Noel. I think I'm going to go with Jerry Jeudy. I just can't quit this dude, Chris. I was catching up on all the, passes, from last week, I think it was on Wednesday or something. And even when I was watching someone else, I was like, oh man, who is that on Cleveland running that crispy route? Judy still got it, man. I can't explain why he didn't get going with Joe Flacco earlier this year. I don't think Dylan Gabriel's the answer. He's had his own drops and problems as Jerry Jeudy always does. But against those guys, man, just still give me Jerry Jeudy. I still believe, Chris. How about you?
I don't know, man. PPR doesn't stand points per route, so but if those are the options that you're comparing Judy to, I can't. advocate for those three guys over Jerry Jeudy. He's still running the routes. He's still getting the targets, plus 20% target share, even with Dylan Gabriel under center. And also, the Browns have actually been a bit more up pace with their rookie quarterback so far, and they've been averaging like somewhere like well above 60 plays per game, even in last week's game when they were playing in the rainstorm. So the situation is still working for Jeudy. It's just hopefully gets over the drops thing. So from a volume standpoint, yeah, Jeudy over those guys for sure. But if you can find somebody maybe a little bit better on the waiver wire that you can start, I would go for them.
I'm saying like, yeah, I believe in Jeudy. Come on, it's him versus three other wide receiver fours that none of us really
Yeah,
want.
that's the tough part.
So.
Yeah.
From Shale and Joey, good morning, my friend. If Kincaid is healthy, would you play him over DJ Moore in non-PPR? It definitely gets tighter in non-PPR. I still think I lean DJ though, Chris. Kincaid is clearly banged up. He had this before where I think he was limited, and just again, we're still seeing so much Dawson Knox. Kincaid is playing great. I was sent out a tweet earlier this week about how great his efficiency numbers are. I get it, but as much of it as it is a winnable matchup against the Panthers, I just still think DJ Moore deserves a benefit out there. It's close though. What do you say? What say you, Chris?
No, I would still go DJ Moore, and I'd say probably the more concerning part for Dalton Kincaid is that this is on the opposite side of the bye, that he's still dealing with this oblique thing. The hope would be that he goes into the bye, gets the rest, and comes out, and we would see full practices. But he's still limited by that ailment. So I would go with DJ Moore for now. Hopefully, it's something that Kincaid can get over in some amount of time. But for right now, go DJ Moore.
Again, he was limited all week, and then before the bye, when he missed the game, he was limited all week. So it just doesn't sound like a situation to be overly trusting of it. And then QB streamer for next week with Hurts on bye. Good on you for getting ahead of this. Sam Darnold or Trevor Lawrence? Probably just Sam Darnold, right, Chris? I know wasn't the best performance against the Texans with some of the second half turnovers, but he's still been playing such better football. So I'll look at the matchups real quick. But do you lean Sam Darnold?
Yeah, they play the Commanders coming out of the bye, so they should be. I mean, JSN should be able to smoke that the Commanders secondary. So yeah, I have no issues with Sam Darnold, and especially now with I don't think anything's going to come of it. But hear about this news that the Jaguars are listening to calls about Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, even just listening to calls kind of has my spidey senses tingling about something going on behind the scenes with BTJ and Trevor Lawrence. So yeah, I lean towards Sam Darnold.
It's just been weird, man. Seems like he's got a little bit of the yips, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if there is something going on that we just do not know about. So give us Sam Darnold. From Michelle, hello, PPR flex, Brees or Debo, also Fannin or Algier. I would say Brees over Debo.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got to find out with David Njoku. If Njoku is out, give me Fannin. We also got to find out about Tyler Algier. I think they all play at 1 o'clock, so we shouldn't have – Falcons play at 1, Browns play at 1, yes. So we won't have to worry about that. I think if Njoku plays, then I start leaning Algier, assuming Algier's in. So Brees Hall, and then depending on the injuries, Fannin if Njoku's out, Algier if Njoku's in. That sound right to you, Chris?
Couldn't have said it better myself.
There we go. Or Judkins. I still think it's Judkins, man. Swift's been playing great and everything. They're right next to each other and everything. Swift's still being a little bit banged up. Enough of a deal breaker there for me. So Team Judkins, Chris?
Yeah, Team Judkins, because we haven't seen the involvement, or at least enough of involvement from either Jerome Ford or Dylan Sampson that it's going to be any sort of like split backfield or something along those lines. So I'd rather go with Judkins, the guy that we know is going to get enough touches in order to get there from a running back perspective.
Index of suspicion has in their words, a random sus fact. The University of Cincinnati has the best costume design school in the U.S., Chris. Were you aware?
I did not know that. I wonder if that was the case when I was there over 20 years ago now. But that'd be pretty dope I mean, I believe it. I mean, they do have a lot of good, was it digital design? Their DAP program is actually fairly solid when I was there back in like 2001 to 06. So yeah, I get it.
Patriots D versus Cleveland or Atlanta D versus Miami. I'm leaning Atlanta. Well, okay, I will say this. I usually go back to when it's a close DST question, who has the schedule I want to continue following. Against the Patriots, man, they're still going to have you good until like week 14. So give me the Patriots.
No, I think that makes more sense and a better way to look at it versus a week-to-week thing. Because if you're going to try and keep swapping defenses, at least have somebody that you won't have to worry about swapping out the position week in and week out. So yeah, I'll go Patriots this week.
If you do just have, a big enough lineup and it's not really a problem for you, Yeah, we saw the Patriots ranked higher, so I'm leaning towards the Patriots here. They also just the DST stuff aside, the Patriots with Marcus Jones and even Trayvon, like they have some dogs out there in the return game as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's always been nice. From Jason, Waddle, Rico, or Booty. I think we're both team Waddle there. Gangzard, 2 of 3.5 PPR. Metcalf, Pittman, or Pacheco. I think we're going both wide receivers, Metcalf and Pittman, Chris.
Yeah. Although I just a general concern about any outside wide receiver going up against the Packers, and we'll see how often the Packers are trying to get after their old quarterback and Aaron Rodgers. So just some, I would say, more narrative-based systemic risk for DK Metcalf, but given his volume and especially the same thing for Pittman, yeah, I'd go Metcalf and Pittman.
Edwards got us a true Bimageddon question here. Justice Hill versus Jeremy
Good
McNichols.
God, man.
I might have a team with the same problem, so we're gonna reserve that judgment there, Chris. I would lean Justice Hill though. McNichols. They play a very similar role. I'll be honest with you, but there's 3 running backs in Washington. There's only really 2 in Baltimore. Give me Justice Hill.
Yeah, and also going up against the Bears rush defense, I'd say that'd be probably the better of the 2 outs, if I'm remembering correctly. Bears are top 10, somewhere in there, like 8th or 9th in terms of running back points allowed, PPR points per game allowed to running back so far. So it said anybody facing the Bears, I'd rather that.
Full PPR, Diggs or Chase Brown? Chase Brown.
Yeah, I'll go Chase Brown just for the volume of touches. Whereas with Stephon Diggs, it's been Kayshon Boutte, it's been Pop Douglas, it's been Hunter Henry. So there's enough floating around for Drake May to hit some guys downfield that while Diggs solid, I would say high end wide receiver too, at least from a volume standpoint, I'll go Chase Brown just for the game environment going up against the Jets.
Sterling, PPR flex, Wandale or Michael Pittman. That is a consensus Michael Pittman from our ranks. Zach 6, not a PPR, Brashard Smith or Kareem Hunt. Probably Hunt still. I don't know. I want to say Brashard Smith. Hunt could fall in the end zone though.
This is all because there's no I would say quantitative backing to this take. It's just we can see how the Chiefs wind up getting up on the Commanders and who are they going to continue to toss out on the field, the guy that's hurt or the young guy that's been performing well, to see what they have in him. I would lean towards the latter rather than the former. So I would say Smith is probably the better of those 2 options.
David, all right, Drake May is playing the Browns, bro. Still a tough D, not quite the Broncos or Joe Flacco. 2 great receivers versus a lesser Jets team. I hear it, man, but like Drake May, he's been so good as a passer this year. Even before that, we loved him in fantasy because he can run, and that's just something that Joe Flacco can't do. So there's a reason, like in my ranks, where I have Flacco, Rodgers, Cousins. Yeah, the guys who honestly are in good situations, winnable enough matchups, we know they can throw the football, still tiers below these other guys. Again, Drake May can have a bad real-life game, but still get there in fantasy, just thanks to some of that rushing. Basically watched Justin Fields throughout his entire career. So still Drake May. I get your reasoning though. From Greek, hold on. Sometimes his chat refreshes and I have to scroll a lot back up. Okay. Yes, there we go. I'm going Ramondre, man. It's just been 2 split with Spears and Pollard. You in the same wavelength?
Right, because if we can't even trust Trevion Henderson to get on the field, let alone get some touches, then yeah, Ramondre Stevenson.
Zay Flowers or Khalil Shakur. I will say Flowers has still kind of made it work even without Lamar in the lineup. I still will go with Zay.
Yeah, I mean, like I was mentioning earlier, 10 targets in that week 6 game before they went on their bye. So even if it is Snoop, the volume should be there. Whereas Shakir, we were talking up Keon Coleman earlier, could be Dawson Knox or a limited Dalton Kincaid. So I would say out of that group or between those 2, Zay Flowers.
How are we feeling about Mason Taylor versus Colson Loveland or Jawan Johnson? I tend to lean towards Mason Taylor here, although I, certainly got a nice bump for Loveland.
Jawan Johnson does stick out with how often he's still been getting targeted. I think the concern was that with Taysom Hill coming back, whose role he was going to start to bite into. And really, we haven't seen a ton out of Hill so far, just a few snaps to him doing his regular BS once they get into get inside the 10. So I would say Jawan Johnson actually would be the one that I would take out of those 3.
He has been playing some nice ball this year. Pass funnel defense. Okay, I can see the Jawan way of living. Let's see. Yeah, you're good, David. It's Sunday morning, bro. Yeah. Chad Bill Krosky Merritt or Xavier Worthy. I think this would be one, Chris, kind of like we talked about with Golden versus Bill Krosky Merritt. I do have Worthy straight up ranked ahead of Bill. If I'm up, by 20%, though, I probably feel a little bit safer about Bill. If I'm down 20%, give me Worthy. How about you?
Yeah, because still I'm just not sure what this entire Chiefs offense is going to look like. Yes, they're going to continue to funnel targets to Rashee Rice, but looking at Rice's average depth of target, still used very close to the line of scrimmage. I think you even posted his next gen like routes received, like his chart from week 7, where it's just right next to the LOS. So as that starts to evolve, I would assume Mahomes tries to take a few more shots downfield, and that's what gives you some catches towards Xavier Worthy. So if you need the ceiling, go Worthy. If everything's kind of 0-0 as of right now and you're just looking for floor, JCM.
I am with you there. Warner bet Huntley or Mac Jones with like a ghost emoji, which is a fair emoji to add in there. I lean Mac Jones, man. I know Huntley has the matchup, but last week was like the first time we've seen Mac Jones held under like 285 passing yards. So it's the Texans. Maybe they can replicate what the Falcons did, but give me Mac Jones. How about you?
Yeah, he still has, and he has all of his pass catchers. So if we're at least advocating for George Kittle to be there, Christian McCaffrey, of course, getting there as a receiver as well, those guys can at least pull him into a viable enough quarterback day. So I'd say Mac Jones, it's fine.
Art, Sebi, Fields, or Caleb? Consensus Caleb from K Brown. 6-point passing touchdowns, Fields or Rodgers. I would go with Rodgers there. I think I'd probably go with Rodgers anyway, to be honest with you. Tez or Franklin in the flex. Sounds like you've been leaning Tez, Chris.
Between those two,
they're close for sure.
Yeah, I think I would go with Troy Franklin, honestly. Just looking at how he was used last week in their crazy matchup against the Giants. I know that's just a 1-week sample, but I would say the scoring environment and all of that would at least lend me more towards that Broncos-Cowboys matchup versus Saints-Bucks, which I know both can get a little nutty, but I would say Troy Franklin.
Nah, that's a good tiebreaker, and I literally have them one spot next to each other. So good question, K. Brown, and he is a massive underdog facing Bijan. I still think it's fine to go with Franklin there. Giovanni, Worthy or Krosky Merritt, kind of talked about that a little bit before. Leaning Worthy, probably regardless if you just needed safer, 8 points, though. I get going with Bill. Flowers or Ott, noting the national tight end day narrative. We're still going with Zay Flowers, man. But no, I hear you. There's some juju going on with that. From Biff, Kendrick Bourne, Hollywood Brown, or Matthew Golden. If we don't get word on Golden, I think I'm fine going with Kendrick Bourne. Hollywood would be, because Hollywood plays on Monday night, so it's like Golden and you go down to Hollywood or Kendrick Bourne. It's not bad. I think I still lean Bourne regardless. How about you, Chris?
Dip with Jawan Jennings back out on the field with the two being there. And of course, we would also have to assume that Kittle also eats into some of that role as well. So that's just a general concern, but we don't know how all that's going to shake out. Mac just could be slinging it, and all three of them could wind up eating against the Texans defense, although it's a little bit harder to see just how well Houston has been playing from a defensive standpoint. But still, out of that group, I would say Bourne just from the opportunity standpoint. And of course, we know that he has a solid rapport with Mac Jones. So that's a Kendrick Bourne.
Rattler or Cousins? I think we're all leaning Cousins. Rattler's in that same, tier conversation, but again, just that Dolphins defense. MWC, Judkins or Jake Ferguson. Like, bro, how is it between Judkins and Jake Ferguson? Both these dudes should be auto starters. I would be going with Quinshon Judkins, though. I know it's National Tight End Day, as we all know, but yeah, give me Quinshon Judkins. Let's see. We had that one. Flacco or Love, also a Jamar owner. I think the Jamar thing, I have him like literally a spot or two next to each other. If you did want to go ahead and, you're expected to lose a little bit and you just want to stack up your QB and wide receiver, I get that standpoint, Chris. Where are you at?
Yeah, and I would say if you're concerned about Chase Brown showing out, so there's some general game environment concerns that all of the touchdowns go to the running backs instead of the wide receivers or whichever pass catch is attached to them. The same thing could be said for Jordan Love and Josh Jacobs. I mean, how many games in a row has Josh Jacobs wound up finding himself in the end zone? I mean, he's probably going on a full season at this point, just between 2024 and 2025. So I would rather go up against the defense that we know is missing their CB1 and Sauce Gardner versus Jordan Love. Whereas, I mean, we don't know how that matchup is going to go with all of the narratives around Rodgers and all of that. So I'd say give me Joe Flacco.
From Blackwing, Caleb, Dart, or Flacco. It is close between Caleb and Dart, but we are a consensus on the Fantasy Life ranks in favor of Caleb Williams. Johnny, we would go with Kirk Cousins over Mac Jones. Tight ends, Fannin or Mason Taylor. We'll find out on Dave Njoku, hopefully here in the next 30 minutes. If Njoku is out, then we are good to go with Fannin over Taylor. Otherwise, I could see Taylor. We did hear, okay, this is good, guys. Rap Sheet, shout out Rap Sheet. Matthew Golden listed as questionable with the hip injury, is expecting to play today. So all that concern earlier, Matthew Golden, wheels up, confidently treating him as a wide receiver 3. Albert, down bad at tight end. Should I start Mason, Taylor, or Loveland? You're not down that bad. I think we already got that one anyway. So,
yeah, I think we did that one.
Juwan Johnson makes sense. Choose 2 in full PPR. Zach Ertz, Jalen Waddle, Troy Franklin. I know it's National Tight End Day, Chris, but I'm leaning Waddle and Franklin.
Waddle and Franklin, because Terry McLaurin's supposed to be back. Debo's supposed to be back. So if this was asked same question last week, I would advocate for Ertz. But yeah, take the 2 wide receivers here.
Chubb or Henderson. We got to go with Chubb here. Henderson could touch the ball 2 times, unfortunately.
Probably not. I mean, Terrell Jennings, baby. I mean, they're 5-minute back.
5-minute back. God damn.
What does that even mean?
Like, we were down bad enough, and then Terrell freaking Jennings comes out of nowhere, Chris. I don't even know this dude was 2 weeks ago. Give me a break.
Yeah.
Let's see. Libigam. What's up, Libby? Golden or Marks in half PPR. I think I lean Golden, dude. I got to see where I have him ranked. I wouldn't be surprised if I have Marks ahead, but I lean Golden. How about you?
Yeah, I would say there's enough opportunity there for him in that offense. And we're already talking about how poor the Steelers have been playing on defense. So, yeah, give me Golden.
Yeah, I'm bumping down that running back tier. Give me Golden there, especially now that we know that he is good to go. Shaheed, Shakur, Downs, Pierce, or Franklin in full PPR. I believe I do have Shaheed ahead of that lot. My next up would be Pierce and Franklin. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, that's how I would kind of look at it. I'd say the one that I'm least excited to start would be Josh Downs coming off the concussion from last week. So I'd say Downs and Shakir are probably towards the bottom. Either of Shaheed, Troy Franklin, and Alec Pierce, those would be the guys that I would kind of be cycling through.
Algier, Slayton, or Hollywood flex half-point PPR. As long as he plays, I would lean Algier. And then if he's out, I'd probably go down to Darius Slayton.
Darius Slayton, yeah. I mean, Hollywood was still mixing in for at least enough work, but that was in a blowout game against the Raiders. So I don't know if the offensive environment was really kind of what led to some of that usage. So I would say that Algier or Slayton, because especially in this game against the Commanders and it being National Tight Ends Day, could be Travis Kelce getting in the end zone over him. So I'd say Algier or Slayton.
Bengals or Bears? God, that Bears defense is so banged up right now. I can't believe I'm saying this, Chris. I think I'd probably go with the Bengals. They got Hendrickson back, right?
They got Henderson back. I have to abstain. They're gonna wind up taking more years off of my life when I watch this game in a couple of hours. So I will abstain from this one.
Look, we both know these are 2 bad defenses. Who do you feel worse about? Honestly, I'll take the Bengals at home against Justin Fields. Who's probably going to take 5 or 6 sacks out there, as he tends to do. Jackson Dart or Jordan Love. We are leaning with Jackson Dart just because of the rushing upside. Christian Watson or Worthy this week. Definitely Xavier Worthy, at least for this week, probably moving forward. Thank you, Jeremy. Dominic, need a tight end to fill the McBride void. Schultz, Ingram, or Taylor in full point PPR. They're all in that same range. I lean Ingram, but I could totally get going elsewhere. I think you're probably more on the Taylor side, Chris.
No, out of that, if Ingram's involved in it, I would say Ingram just because he has had the more, I would say, consistent role in his offense, where Dalton Schultz, we just saw him pop up last week, and that was with some of the wide receivers going down. And Schultz had a hip injury or shoulder injury or something like that coming out of that game. Still expected to play, but still playing with an offense that we know has some problems with their offensive line and CJ Stroud hitting receivers. So I would say Ingram is the best out of that group.
Caleb over Dart and Cousins. It's a little big man. I've been calling him like Libijam. Jesus. Little big man going with Caleb. Appreciate you. Antoine, Prescott or Love. We are leaning Dak. I know it's a tough matchup, but Dak is absolutely
Dak
proven.
all the time.
100%. Aaron, Fannin or Henry? If Njoku's out, 100% Fannin. I think you could even go Fannin. It becomes a toss-up otherwise, Chris.
Yeah, I would say that's the case. Let's wait and get some news on Njoku. Leaning towards Fannin, but let's wait for inactives.
Bulldog, pick one and flex half. Woody Marks, Chase Brown, and Rico Dowdle. We would go with Chase Brown. JTB, I'm not sure if those are tennis players or porn stars or both. I am not going to answer that. I appreciate you,
Listen to Shagwell. That's from Austin Powers. Both of them are from Vanessa Kensington. They're both from Austin Powers.
Do you have an answer then?
I would say let's go Felicity.
All right, let's go Felicity. From Jeremy, Kittle or Goddard. Why is it between them? I get it. I think, oh man, I can't bench George Kittle on National Tight End Day, Chris. I just can't.
Do that. Yeah, we can't do that. Yeah, he's going to score 2 touchdowns, man. We can't do it.
Yeah. Look, I moved Goddard up to tight end 4. I still got Kittle tight end 2. Swift or Chase Brown in the flex. That one, I think I still lean DeAndre Swift. How about you, Chris?
That one's close. I think we're playing more on projection after how well the Bengals looked this previous week, and also specific to Chase Brown, how well the offensive line was able to get some push. So we're projecting a bit. I would still go Swift in this matchup, but yeah, Chase Brown, it's still a good question, but I give the edge to DeAndre Swift.
Triple H or Hulk Hogan? I'm going with Triple H, Chris.
Yeah, I'll go to Hunter Hemsworth for different reasons. I cannot advocate for Hulk Hogan for specific reasons.
That is very true. Full PPR, Dowdle, Marks, or Worthy. It's between Dowdle and Worthy. I think I lean Worthy. It's freaking close. Where do you fall?
Yeah, Worthy. Just again, the split between Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowdle. He's out. Split between Chubb and Marks. So I will at least say, given the potential for a high-scoring environment with the Chiefs and Commanders, I would say give me Worthy.
Okay, Michael, I would go Pacheco, Butter, go with Caleb Williams, Johnny, Kirk Cousins, Shane, Woody Marks, Spears, or McLaurin, and standard, Chris, probably McLaurin.
Yeah, McLaurin, even though it's his first game back, but we have to assume that Mariota tries to get the wide receiver 1 involved as quickly as possible if they want to have any hopes of keeping up with the Chiefs.
Eric, I lean Swift, Miami, Mooney, little big man. Yeah, Fields could run for 3 touchdowns today.
Probably will.
Probably will, man. Okay, just 3 more guys. Sorry, wish we could get to them all. Mooney, Golden, Bourne, Hollywood.
Mooney.
I lead Mooney, yeah. Bluey, Huntley, or Mariota. He does get a point per completion. I think I still lead Mariota, though.
Yeah, I still lean Mariota there. He's still got the rushing upside. We haven't seen it yet from Huntley, even though I know he's still got that in his bag. But Mariota is averaging, I'd say, like 30 rushing yards per game in his 2 starts. So I'll go Mariota.
And then let's see, what's one more good one? Any London news? Not yet, man. They announced the inactives out about 11:30, so we should find out very soon, one way or another. Okay, this is a good one to end on. Jalen Noel or Kyle Monangai, Chris, in the spirit of this effed up week 8. Oh, full PPR. I got Chip. Where do you lean?
Wait, who are the 2 again?
Kyle Monangai or Jalen Noel? I got Monangai.
I'll go Monangai. Just with how well the Bears passing or the Bears rushing game was operating last week, should see something similar. Even though the Ravens defense is getting a little bit healthier, I would say that Monangai is the better of those 2.
All right, guys. That's going to wrap everything up. Again, we got rankings over at fantasylife.com if you want to check those out. And again, we have literally our Xfinity Start Sit tool where you can go ahead and put in if you're trailing, if you're leading, if it's a toss-up, and then we kind of give you all the different options. For my money's worth, I really do think it is one of, if not the best Start Sit tool in the game. So we appreciate you hanging out. For Chris, for producer Matt, I'm Ian. And until next Sunday, take care, everybody.